All right, it says we are live. Crazy enough, it says we've been live or live, I should say, for 16 seconds, and I just clicked on it. So I'm not sure how that's 16 seconds, but hey, whatever. So let me see. Let me go to my channel really quick. It says we're live. It says a whole bunch of people are watching, all two. So that's great. So hello, good evening. Hi, everybody. So we are coming at you live. Obviously, we'll hopefully get some more people in here today or tonight and go from there. So hello, Scott79 and Bill Taylor. How you guys doing? Like I said, we'll see if more and more people parade through here or not. It's been a while. Figured this would be a good night to try to catch up with everybody, and hopefully everybody's doing fine and dandy out there. I've been up to a lot, not necessarily gun related, but definitely, certainly life related, I guess would be a good way of saying it. And in, doing so, obviously, there's been a lot of things that have happened, whether it's, the Supreme Court's decisions of stupidity and, and what have you. But, we'll give it a few minutes and we'll start talking. We'll talk a little bit about, some of the things in regards to New York State laws, which I think everybody went into this amazing craze that, oh my God, everybody's gun rights are going to be back and great and wonderful. Unfortunately, that wasn't necessarily the case, especially if you live here, you know what I'm talking about, but we'll get into that in a minute. So just to kind of, hey, Peter K, how you doing? So like I said, hopefully more people will kind of scroll in and remember that there's actually this channel here. It's been a while, so I'm not really expecting many people to show up. I never really do. Sometimes we hit about 30 people, so we'll see. So hopefully everybody's doing fine out there. But let's kind of get started a little bit. And let's talk about some of the things that I've been up to, which it's been a little crazy for me. You guys know that I have a couple of kids, and sometimes that lifestyle can get a little crazy. Hopefully the mic sounds good. Hopefully the image is good. So if you guys see, if you see any issues, let me know right away so I can adjust them. It looks like there's a little bit of a delay, but hopefully that's, on my end, not your end. But nonetheless, as we get 11 people in here and we start to see more and more people show up, it's been crazy for me. I've got kids in high school, and, my time right now has been completely preoccupied with my son, just doing things with him and his lacrosse career in high school. It's been crazy, to be honest with you. So I've been gallivanting all over the place, whether it's Delaware, New Jersey, you name it, everywhere, New York. I mean, obviously. But so life has been a very hectic life. However, there have been some guns that I've been getting, things that I've been, kind of looking forward to getting, things I haven't even reviewed. So who knows? Keenan Gilliam, how you doing, buddy? Good to see Keenan. If you guys haven't seen his channel, check his channel out. It's good stuff. I always like watching his stuff because he always has some really fancy toys that I like, but will never buy because I can't afford them right now. But he's got some nice stuff, guys. So check out his channel. But let's talk a little bit about some of the things that I've been doing. Most of my time, aside from dealing with the kiddies, has been building AR-15s. I'm on my fourth build right now. And, I said it back in the way when I got my first one built. I said they're highly addictive, and they are, especially with a lot of the things that are coming down the pipeline in New York State and a lot of the, I guess you could say, red flags that we're dealing with here. Just fix my chair here for a second, guys. And, one of the things that I have to say that, if you're into building ARs right now, it's probably best. I can't find my stupid lever. Hold on. Where the hell is that damn thing? Can't find it. There it is. I found it. And I actually found a roll pin that I was missing. Go figure. But anyway, one of the things that, you get hooked into these AR builds is you begin to kind of get even more customized, things that you like a little bit better, things that you would have changed if it was just the first one. You start to kind of get introduced into nicer things, nicer parts, that sort of stuff. So on my fourth build that I'm actually currently building, I think I can show this to you. We'll see if we get banned. Well, this is the barrel right here, 16-inch barrel. This is a Aero Precision 300 blackout barrel. It's pretty thick. It's pretty nice barrel, all nitrite. But it's pretty nice. But this is my next build right here, is a 300 blackout. So far, I have a 1.556, two 223 wilds, and now the 300 blackout. And I think that's going to be it for a while. But you got to see this build. This is going to be a crazy one from Aero. I actually been talking to an individual who works for him, and he's been really awesome, actually, by the way, and very supportive. So they sent me a builder's kit, but I'm not going to show you what it looks like just yet because it's super cool. So I'm going to wait for that. But I definitely am going to splurge a little bit on this one because the build is going to be sick. So let's see, Rabbi, how you doing, buddy? Dennis, how is it going? And I think that's it. I think I got everybody in the chat right now who's at least showing up. So I've been doing a lot of AR stuff. Haven't been really showing them. Haven't been reviewing anything because I've just been pressed for time. That's going to change a little bit. I got some things that I want to show you. I mean, this Aero build is going to be just filthy. I can't wait. So I'm definitely going to be showing you that one. Probably do an extended one on that with the shooting and everything, just because, I told him I would test it for him and that kind of stuff. Like, really, what the hell do I know about ARs? But we're going to try. Big Johnson, how are you, sir? And let's see, Rabbi, how you doing? I said that everything already, but that's okay. And yes, it has been a long time. So aside from the ARs, pistol-wise, I mean, there hasn't been a lot that's really been intriguing me, to be honest with you. My latest, I guess you could say, purchase was a SIG P229, and it is in the that blue color. I forget what they call it. As you guys know, KS did a video on his a long time ago, and he actually texted me one day telling me there was one on a very gun-friendly website. So I went ahead and picked it up at a really ridiculous price. It was used, barely. The only thing I could find that was wrong with it was actually the grip. It's a little warped, so I already have some grip panels on the way. By the way, I wish Locke would make some 229 panels. That would be pretty sweet. They don't. And crazy enough, I actually just picked up a Taurus. Oh boy, that's right. I said it, the evil word Taurus. And there's a reason why I got that. However, I can't disclose why I got it. I paid for it. I bought it. It just came in yesterday. So of course it's going to take me the ridiculous amount of time to pick it up. But I'll do a review on it. It's actually not too bad. It's a really small one. I think it's, what is it? The I don't even know what the hell it's called, to be honest with you. It's the G2, G3. I don't know. I don't know what it's called, but it's actually pretty nice. And I would say to all of you that it is actually not a bad firearm. I mean, it's going to depend, I guess, on what you're looking for. Does it strike you or anybody as this amazing firearm? No. But I think entry level wise, I think for the price, it was $300 barely. It's OD green. It's pretty nice. Trigger's decent. It's not terrible. The texturing was good. Size is pretty good. I mean, it's an 11 round magazine, and I think you can get extended rounds, extended mags. I think it's like 12 or 13 or something like that. I'm not sure, but I mean, overall, it's not bad. And I am not a Taurus guy, as many of you know. I probably bashed him 1,000,001 times, but this gun was actually pretty decent out of the box. Now, of course, shooting it might be a whole different scenario. It might suck, but we're going to find that out pretty close. Pretty close. That's it. Keith Gregory, the G4X. I don't even know what that is. I mean, there's so many different models that they give you. I don't even know what the hell it's called. It's the real tiny one, the super, super small one in 9mm. So I'm not exactly sure what it's called. Maybe it's the G4. I don't know. I mean, I could look it up online really quick. That's how pathetic it is. I don't even know what it is. But let me see. I think is it a G4? Maybe. Let me see. I'm looking it up now. Yes, it is the GX4. That is exactly what it is. Yep. So it's actually not bad. The sight picture sucks. So, at some point, maybe if I keep the pistol, I might do something with it. But it's actually not bad. It's very small footprint. It's pretty ergonomic, so it's pretty cool. And interestingly enough, the trigger control group is modular. So very much like SIG. So that's why I picked it up, for that specific reason, but I'm not going to say any more than that. Now, let's talk about some of the other crazy things that have been going on. And if you guys have any questions, please feel free to ask at any time. But obviously, we've been long past the laws of New York State in regards to the Supreme Court decision that came out. And everybody was like, oh, this is such a great win and all this other stuff. And again, I was very skeptical for a lot of reasons. I mean, obviously, it is a good pickup for us in the gun community. But did it really change anything in New York State? I would say it did not. And I'm talking about the Supreme Court's decision saying that when you go to get a carry, a burp, when you get a carry permit in New York State, when the process happens, by the way, it takes an extraordinarily long amount of time, almost up to a year to get your pistol permit here. But when you went, you had to go through like 47 steps. It's like it's ridiculous. It's amazingly time consuming, money consuming, and then when you get to the apex of everything, you have to go in and speak to a judge, and then that judge determines whether or not you are worthy to have a full carry. So in most counties, depending where you live, it's fairly simple to get a carry. You just have to give them a reason why, which is again stupid, but that was the game you had to play. So you could say you live in the wilderness and you've got coyotes or whatever, or you could say, well, you travel a lot or you own your own business, things like that. And a lot of times the judges, depending on who you got, were pretty good about it and say, all right, you get your full carry. So when I applied, I got my full carry because I live in a rural area and I have small kids, and at the time, very small. And so I decided to use all those as examples as to why. So I was granted my full carry, I mean, many, many moons ago. So the new law, or the new Supreme Court decision, was basically this idea that when you go and apply, it was unconstitutional to ask for a reason. In other words, it should be a must issue state, not a may issue. So basically now, if you apply for your permit, anybody who applies for it automatically will get a full carry. So of course, when that came out, there are a lot of people that say that was a great win. It was amazing, blah, 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 blah. But, when you're living in New York, you realize, no, it's not. It's really not that amazing. And there's a lot of bullshit around it. So let me explain what I mean by that. So first off, one of the things that I first chimed in on, and one of the first things I said about it was, yeah, that's great. It is a win. However, it still doesn't change the fact that New York State is a have versus have not state. And what I mean by that is you have to still apply for the permit. You've got to pay for the paperwork. You've got to pay for the background check, pay for the fingerprints. Then, and that's not cheap. I mean, some of these things are costing over $100. As a matter of fact, Orange County, I think I posted, it was something like $300 to get your fingerprinting done and your background check. And there are some people who can't pay for that, not to mention then pay for a gun, then for ammunition, then for a holster, then training and everything. So essentially what it did was it says to people now, if you can afford to go through the process, you're going to get your full carry permit. So it didn't really change anything. It really didn't. And I think when people right away jump the gun saying, this is a great win for us, no offense, guys, but you were definitely talking out your butthole. And what I mean by that is, if you don't live here, you don't really know the bullshit that goes behind all of these things. And that's why I said it really is a state that is a have versus have not state, because of the fact that if you can't afford to go through the process, then guess what? You're screwed. You can't own a firearm. Now, if you want to tell me it's constitutional carry and you don't have to go through all these stupid processes and steps, great, no problem. But that's not what we have. We still have the same game, just with one small mediocre caveat at the end that is a basically win for everyone as long as you can afford it. So that's kind of why I was like, well, it's not really that big a deal. And I guess with this topic, it's not really amusing to anybody because I'm losing people viewing, which is okay. So let's talk about then what they decided to do on, the July 4th weekend. So, of course, our wonderful governor, who nobody elected, that's Ms. Hochul, her and our beloved legislative branch in New York State decided to pass a new set of laws that would basically, I guess you could say, deny everybody the right to carry a gun in New York State. So again, if you're not aware, basically what this means is what Governor Hochul did at the 11th hour, of course, at midnight, they passed some legislation that basically said, in order for you to carry a firearm, because the Supreme Court went and said everybody's going to get a concealed carry permit, they went ahead and said, in order for you to carry that gun, any privately owned business has to post a sign on the outside saying it's okay for you to carry a gun. And if there is no sign, then you are not allowed to carry your gun. So basically, what they decided to do as a result of the Supreme Court decision was they've decided to take away completely your rights to carry in every single location except for your house. So that's what we're dealing with in New York State. That's why I said there was no win from that initial decision. Now, obviously, this hasn't been challenged in courts yet, which I'm assuming it will be, because this does not take effect until September 1st. And that's just one part of the new bill that they passed. Now, of course, in order for you to get ammunition after September 1st, guess what? You have to undergo a full background check. So now you have to do a full background check just to buy ammo. So if you want to buy a little box of 50 rounds for $21, now you're going to be told you got to go through a full NICS check. That's right. And so, of course, there's got to be a cost to that somewhere. And where's that cost going to fall? It's going to fall in the laps of the consumer. So again, you're looking at ways that you have these liberals. And again, I don't even know if you can call them liberals. It's almost like they're, I mean, I would almost say that they're almost like Nazis, because they don't want to allow you to have your free expression or your rights, regardless of what it is, unless they tell you what it is. And that's why, you guys out there who didn't know any of this stuff, there wasn't a real big win here. There was a big loss. There was several big losses. As a matter of fact, I don't know if I still have it. I probably should have picked it up before I got on the chat here, but the New York State gun laws are just ridiculous. And then there's a new law, or a new part of this law also, and I'm not certain what it says, but it talks about also sales of AR-15 parts. It's like, for example, uppers and lowers. There are some stores right now around me locally, which I won't name, that have already stopped selling lowers or receivers, I should say, because of these new laws that haven't even taken into effect. And that's a store that I'm no longer doing any business with, because again, I mean, you don't even know what the law is or if that law is going to even take effect. So why would you stop selling them? And I think that's going to be the dilemma for New Yorkers, is where do we go from here? So as of September 1st, effectively, if you go anywhere in a privately owned establishment, if they don't have a sign saying you're allowed to carry your firearm on the premises, you're not allowed to. And if you do, basically, you're a felon. So we're going to see how that plays out. I can guarantee you someone's going to do it, and someone's going to get arrested, and then it's going to go to the courts, and then the Supreme Court will hear it. And the Supreme Court should have already said, you cannot do this. This is unconstitutional. I mean, if you're going to sit there and say that it was unconstitutional to have people supply a reason for judgment to carry full, how does this not fall under that idea of being unconstitutional? So, we're going to see how this plays out. I mean, obviously it's, New York State's a train wreck. I mean, there's no other word to say it. It's just it's like a pimple, man. It just needs to get burst. So we'll see how it plays out. I mean, obviously there's a governor election coming up. We'll see how that plays out. Hopefully Hochul doesn't win. She's running, but we're going to find out who wins, and hopefully we can turn the state around, because it is really becoming a disaster here pretty quick. So again, if you guys have any questions, please ask them below. Rabbi says it's totalitarian, and yes, sir, it is. That is basically what it is. What's good for me is what's good for thee is not good for me, I guess is the way to say it. When you look at the crime and you look at the things that are occurring in New York City, the record amounts of police officers that are retiring now because they've just had enough of the garbage down there, it's scary. It's definitely becoming scarier and scarier to see what's really becoming of the Empire State. And that's just a small portion of what's going on up here. I could bore you guys even further with some of the other things that they're talking about energy-wise, taxing natural gas and other forms of energy here in New York State at record highs due to the fact that they want to go all green in New York State. So not really sure how that's going to play out, but we're going to find out. So yeah, I mean, that's kind of the whole idea and behind all these new wonderful laws that New York State has passed. Gun wise, like I said, I've been building crazy amounts of ARs. I've got my fourth one I'm building right now. It is extremely fun. I actually, I don't even know if I have it here. Hold on one second. All right. So I'll give you a little preview. I think I'm not sure if I can show this. Can I show an upper? I don't know. It's not a fully made gun. I mean, it's nothing. It's not even a serialized part. So technically, what is it? Well, we'll see. So that's the one from Arrow. And I want you to take a look at that thing. That is just freaking beautiful. I mean, it really is just beautiful. So you got like a burnt bronze color on there. It's awesome. There's no other way to describe it. I haven't even touched it yet. Oh, I'm not gonna lie. I've been dry fitting everything so far that I have. Need a couple of things still, but man, it is a beauty. That's for sure. Let's see. Floridian saying, what's up? How you doing, man? It's been a long time. Portable is saying 9 firing replica. That is true. This is just a replica. This is not. This is just a model of an airsoft. So that was the upper. I won't show you the rest because it's just too cool. So Keenan saying, I want a reunion and all my friends in my squad retired. Oh, I went to a reunion and all of his friends in the squad retired. So if you didn't know, Keenan was a police officer, or was a police officer. Now he's retired. And I mean, obviously, I think that's something that we're seeing a lot of. A lot of these people are just saying we've had enough. And I don't blame them. Rabbis saying they want the criminals to run free, so people beg the government to protect them. And again, I agree with that. I mean, look, like I said, look at the courts up here in New York State. Like, a buddy of mine is a cop, obviously, and I said to him, I said, maybe I should be the guinea pig. Maybe I should go to establishment and carry a gun in there and get arrested and see if I can be the Supreme Court case. And we were like, oh, that's a great idea. And then as the beer began to wear off, he basically said, don't do that, because you're definitely going to spend time in jail. And I'm like, I'm not going to jail. There's no way, not for that. But I don't know how it's going to play out here. It's going to be interesting to see what happens September 1st. I've gone to a couple of gun stores, asked them some questions about it, seeing how they're going to do the background checks for ammunition, and just take into account all the other obligations they have now to keep records and all this other stuff. And a lot of them don't have answers. They don't know how they're going to be able to do what's being asked of them by the state. So again, you'd have to ask yourself, like, how are we going to do this? How are we going to afford it? And who's going to pay for it? Obviously, the taxpayer. But nonetheless, we keep going down this rabbit hole over and over and over again. And the only question I can say is, or the only statement I can say is, I don't think there's anybody out there, whether you're a gun owner or a non-gun owner, whether you're a gun advocate or a gun enemy, that would ever say that, shooting children in a school is a good thing. I don't think there's anybody out there that can say that. And if you are saying that, then you're something's wrong with you. But I think to sit here and say all the time that is a firearm that is creating this mess is just, it's ridiculous. Every single law that you pass on the books is not going to affect anything that has to do with a criminal. And that isn't me becoming a lawyer or anything like that. This is common sense. There are laws on the book that prevent crime. Do we still have crime in the United States? Well, obviously we do. So then that means those laws are not effective for the people who are committing those crimes. So people who are committing these gun crimes, whether it's gang-related shootings, whether it's illegal firearms purchases, whatever it might be, you can put every law on the book you want. It is not going to prevent one single person from not committing a crime. Now, of course, if you want to have a bigger discussion and you want to have an actual discussion of what is really causing it, I can give you a couple of insights as to what I think it is. Again, I'm not a psychiatrist by any means. But I'm a parent, I have children. I kind of know what's going on. My wife is in education, and, I was listening to the man who shall not be named, which I think all of you are aware of who that is, a little short guy. And he was talking out of his butt, as always, about he has an answer to how to fix all of this. And then it became a 30-minute rant about schools. Now, I know that a lot of you out there are probably not big on schools, and maybe rightfully so. I mean, there's obviously some things in certain schools in certain parts of this country that are teaching things that maybe shouldn't be in a classroom, and maybe should be at the discussion table with families at dinner time, if families would actually do that. But I would also say to you that to blame schools for, not looking at bullying and not doing this and not doing that, it's like, hold on a second. I have an idea. Why don't you blame, obviously, the parents? I mean, I'm not going to lie to you. Why don't you blame parents? Why don't you blame the social structure of our country right now? Why don't you blame this cultural idea that somehow it's okay to emasculate males? It's okay to not have a nuclear family dynamic, and think that that's going to be normal or okay, because it's not. It's just not. And you're seeing the breakdown of those types of structures in our society. And as a result, what do you get? You get kids who tattoo their faces and have pink and purple hair, and who don't have a purpose necessarily because they can't find a purpose for themselves. And so what do? They buy a gun and they go and kill people. And, so obviously not everybody falls into that situation. If you guys ever read the FBI report that they did after Columbine, I'd highly recommend reading it. You cannot say who is going to do these shootings. And that's something we need to talk about clearly. It is not a kid who's dressed all in black, wearing a black trench coat. It is not a kid who's from a broken home or doesn't have any friends. There's a whole systematic approach to this. It is a multi-tiered approach. And then when you approach it from that perspective, you begin to realize that there are so many kids across the entire board, whether it's an emo kid, whether it's a normal kid, an athlete kid, whatever it might be. There's a lot of kids right now today that are demonstrating some of these things. And does it mean they're automatically going to be shooters? No, it does not. There's other factors involved. There's almost like a chain of events, but not necessarily events, but also a chain of characteristics, I guess you could say. that you could diagnose and look at and say, okay, this is a potential, not necessarily definite, but a potential. And then you put services in place for those individuals. Now let's talk about what I think are the two major problems. First off, number one, social media. There's no way in this world you can tell me that social media is a healthy thing for young people. Now, don't get me wrong, it's not even a healthy thing for people my age. But I think even more so for young people. Now, here I am on YouTube having a live conversation with myself and 22 other people. However, I am discussing topics with some opinions and hopefully educated opinions. But I'm not trying to influence people. I'm not trying to tell you what to do. I'm not trying to tell you that my life is so much better than yours. And let me show you pictures of it and videos of it, of how perfect everything is. I mean, it's kind of crazy because kids are being exposed to this every single day, whether it's TikTok, Instagram, Snapchat, YouTube, this thing, that thing. And it's nonstop. It's 24/7 a day, man. And it never stops. And all you're seeing are positive things. You're seeing, look at my life. I'm so great. And look at all these fancy clothes and this fancy house. And look what, and what is that? It's not even reality. But the problem is a lot of these kids don't even understand that. So as a result, what happens is when they get a brush of reality, they don't know how to deal with it. They don't know how to deal with adversity. They don't know how to deal with telling somebody or somebody telling them they're not perfect. So I think that's a huge problem. Now, am I right? I don't know. I mean, maybe not. So I think that's one problem. And then the second problem I also believe is that we as a society have lost the idea of what it means to raise children. I have two teenagers. I've got a 16, soon to be 17-year-old. I have a 15-year-old. And I'm going to tell you, I don't have enough time for myself in my own life to really do much of anything. As you guys can tell, my YouTube channel is pretty much slow to a crawl. Tonight, I'm actually able to do this because neither one of my kids are home tonight. One's at a friend's house. The other one just got home. And so it gave me an opportunity to do something for myself. And, there are days where I get aggravated. Sure I do. Who wouldn't? But at the same time, you also have to realize that there is a certain sacrifice you have to make when you have children. And, you look around you and you're not seeing that. You're not. You're seeing, instead of people saying, all right, now that I have a kid, I've got to make all these sacrifices, which means I may not be able to do this or get that or go here or go there. And instead, you're going to have to kind of wrap yourself around those kids, nurture them, have them grow, have them get good moral values, and do things together as a family unit. But you're not seeing that. Instead, you're seeing people stuck on their stupid phones, texting and doing this and taking fake pictures and posting everything on Facebook like their life is a joy. And at the end of the day, what are you really getting? You're getting false images and really a false idea of what reality is. Some people do live charmed lives. There's no doubt. They've never suffered, never had any bad news. Maybe they've never had a bad day in their life. But for the majority of us, that's just not the case. So I think for me, those are the two major burdens that, unfortunately are facing our country. So I'd love to hear what you guys have to say. I mean, if you want to chime in and let me know, feel free to. I've been ranting now for about 20 minutes straight. But like I said, it was time to catch up. I mean, there's been so many things that have been going on. So, why not? But, those, like I said, there are no simple answers to anything. I think, obviously, if you want to, talk about school shootings and this and that. I mean, there's so many things you can approach it from. You can talk about, what kind of background this kid had. Then you can talk about, the way the father approached some of these problems this kid was having, and again, honestly, if I had a kid who was demonstrating some of the behaviors that this individual was, most recently, I think obviously I would sit there and say, probably not getting a gun, probably for a good reason. And I'm talking about not only the kid down in Texas, but I'm also talking about that kid down in Illinois, at the parade. I mean, it's kind of crazy that a parent would say, "Yeah, my kid seems very stable. Let me get him let me petition to get him a gun license." I'm sorry, that's just not the way it should be. And I know some people will harp, "Well, that's not fair." Blah 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 blah. Well, you know what? Life ain't fair. There's certain things about the Second Amendment that I agree with, and certain things that I think shouldn't happen. I know that some people have given me some crap in the past, but I don't believe if you're a convicted felon, I don't think you should regain your rights. I don't. And that's just me. And you can agree or disagree. That's up to you. Yeah, Peter K. Highland Park. That was the one. That was by, that's Chicago. That's by Chicago, I think. Pretty sure. Oh, I think I just almost lost my camera for some weird reason. That was weird. So let's see. Hopefully I'm still hooked up. Yep. All right. So gun wise, again, I mean, what have I been carrying a lot? I've been carrying my P365 XL quite a bit, which is another video I have to do. I did post some pictures of it. And you know, I look at it from the standpoint of, you know, some people were giving me some things about, well, why would you need another lower? This thing, wait till you see it, guys. It's crazy. I mean, it's just sick. It's like the P365 has been reinvented, in my opinion, by Icarus. Mike Concho is saying, I think if you're safe enough to be on the street, then you're safe enough to own a firearm. Okay, that's true. But you know, who's going to determine that you're safe enough? You know, how many ex-cons do we have right now walking around in New York City who have you know, held up you know, bodegas and everything else? I mean, do I need to use that as an example? Ex-felon goes to, you know, hurt the actual shop owner. The guy's girlfriend stabs the shop owner. So the shop owner then stabs the guy, kills him, and they charge the shop owner. So do you think that guy should have had a weapon? I mean, me personally, no, I don't. I don't. And like I said, I'm not trying to argue with anybody. It's just a personal opinion. But, you know, I can't put my trust in the courts to make a right decision. I just can't. Because if you look at the way the courts operate, and again, I can only speak for my jurisdiction, not yours or anybody else's, but I mean, honestly, I would not trust them with anything. Keith Gregory is saying nonviolent felons should be able to own a firearm. Okay. All right. I don't necessarily disagree with that. I mean, I could say, yeah, maybe I could go for that. You know, if you didn't commit a felony, like, I don't know, what's a felony? Grand larceny. So you stole something worth what is it, 5,000 or more? I can understand that. Now, as long as you didn't use like a bat or a hammer in the act of stealing, you know, I guess. But again, you know, you're going to have to pick and choose. You know, where do you draw the line? Do you draw the line, or is it just a free for all and everybody gets it, even if they're a felon? You know, I think that's going to be, you know, where everything gets a little screwy. But you know, that's a discussion for people smarter than me. That's for sure. And then Mike is saying, my point was, if they don't feel you're rehabilitated or safe enough to own a firearm, why would they release you from prison in the first place? And that's a good point, you know, but unfortunately what we've seen and what I've seen, at least up in this area, is you're getting people who are being released on bail. You're getting people who have committed felonies who are getting appearance tickets to court. So, you know, I don't know if it's something that could be universal. I just don't. Because there's been plenty of cases up here, at least, where you've seen people who've gotten out and then repeat, you know, and then do more horrific crimes, so to speak. So that's where it gets a little touchy, a little touch and go, so to speak. All right, like I said, guys, feel free to ask questions, anything you'd like to know. I'll do my best to answer all of you. There are 20 people. A couple of things also, you know, one of the things that I would also say is, you know, obviously with YouTube and the gun community, you know, sometimes you see some channels and you're like, oh, this guy knows everything. I don't agree with that also. I think there's a lot of false imagery that goes on even in the gun community here. Let's see. Floridian is saying, born in the wrong century, life was hard, but family meant more, survival, hard work, and values. And yeah, I mean, is it really been a century? I don't even know if it's been a century. I feel like it's been, I don't know, maybe the past 20 years, maybe. I don't even know if it's been that long. I think maybe 10 years we've seen such a turn of what was considered moral values, I guess. And I'm not saying everybody's I'm not perfect, you know. I mean, look, I went to school, I've done things in my life that I wouldn't want to, you know, necessarily brag about. But you know, I think that a part of the growth of a person has to be making some of those mistakes and then having guidance around them to be able to maneuver around those mistakes. But I just don't think you're getting that. I don't think you're seeing that. I mean, you know, I don't know about you guys, but I had a mentor when I was, gosh, I think I was maybe 20 years old. I actually was mentored by a real old man. He was like probably 85, 90 years old. I had nothing in common with this guy, but he was the coolest guy I ever met in my whole life. And He's an old salt. He was a friggin' VMI graduate, but just a damn good man, and he kind of taught you values and self-respect and self-determination. And, sometimes that's what kids need. They need a good mentor who has kind of seen things and done things and has experienced things. But, do we even have that anymore? Do we have any investment in the communities? I'm not sure if that's the case anymore. So are there any guns out there that you guys have been looking at? I mean, for me personally, I haven't really seen anything that I've been, kind of actively saying, ooh, I've kind of had a little twitch when I look at the Canic Rival. I like that gun. It's a pretty sharp looking gun. I'm not sure I actually want to pay 600 bucks for that just yet. I'm not there yet. But I've seen them for as low as about 545 ish around there on, that certain website where you can get guns. But I've seen them anywhere from like 545 up to around 620, 625 around there. And I don't know, man. I'm still debating if it's worth that kind of money. It's a cool looking gun. There's no doubt. I would probably get the black one as opposed to the gray one. But I like it. I like the redesigns on the grip, the fact that they kind of thinned out the beaver tail on the gun, which I think was a huge thing. I mean, I had the Canic Elite, and I liked the gun. It didn't really necessarily work with me because it had some problems with it. But the one thing I always complained, and this is something I complained about the PDP and the PPQ, was that little beaver tail area in the back was always very thick. And I always said if they could just thin it out a little bit, and it looks like Canic did on that one. So, I mean, I think that's a win. And to be honest with you, it kind of looks like what the next PPQ should have been, as opposed to the PDP. PDP, I don't know, man. I'm not that high on. I don't think it's, I think it's very clever marketing with Walther as usual, but I'm not so certain it's the best thing that I've ever seen or shot or felt or anything. Let's see. Nicholas Misty is saying P365X. What about it? Keenan is saying Rival is a nice firearm. Shot a few times. Very accurate. Yeah, it's really cool. I mean, they did a nice job on the design of it. It would be interesting to see if they would put out a compact model of that. That would be something I'd like to see. Maybe a redesign of the Elite, because the Elite was nice. I mean, it's a nice gun, great trigger, but just a little too chunky in my opinion. And then of course I was looking at the what is that? The crap. I'm in some brain farts here. I was looking at the Shadow Systems, what is it? The SC920, I think that's what it's called, the subcompact. And that's pretty cool. That looks like a pretty cool gun. I mean, I love the MR920. It's a fantastic gun, by the way. Or is it the SR920? I can't remember. It's either SC or SR. I'm not sure. But it's cool. It's tiny, really tiny. I actually held it at my local gun store, and it felt really cool. I mean, it's like a little baby version of the MR920. So, I mean, but again, I've seen them for as low as $6 and change and as high as almost $1,000, depending if you get the combat or the what is it, the Elite, I think it's called. But those seem to be pretty nice. That would be something I would consider. And then Keith is saying, what do you think of the 30 Super Carry cartridge? I guess the question I would ask is, do you really need it? I mean, that to me is the biggest question. Do you need a 30 Super Carry? I mean, is 9mm not effective enough? Can you not get the maximum amount in a magazine with 9mm as you could with 30 Super Carry? And now obviously the Shield has the 30 Super Carry. I know some people have that and like it, but I don't know. I think it's, for me, I'm more of like the old school guy. I would say 9mm for me is golden. The 30 Super Carry, I think, is gonna. I mean, should I say this? I guess I should. I think at some point it's going to fade away into oblivion because I just don't think there's going to be a mass following for it. Now, I could be 100% wrong, but we'll see. Only time will tell. Peter K is saying, what barrel are you using in your builds? So the first build I did, I actually used the Wilson Combat barrel. Very nice, by the way. I would say out of all the builds I've done, the Wilson Combat is a really nice build. But I don't like it the best, which is interesting because if you look at their ARs, they're super expensive. And then I built the three others that I built are all arrows. The upper on one of them is actually lefty upper from Stag Arms because I'm a lefty shooting rifles. And so I wanted to experience what it'd be like to shoot a lefty rifle or an AR-15. And I've got to say, it's pretty damn cool. So if you are a lefty, Stag Arms, I think is a very good option to go with when it comes to uppers for lefties. But barrel wise, I did Wilson Combat. I have 2 ballistic advantages, and then obviously the Aero Precision, which is basically ballistic advantage as well, which I did not know, and I'm not 100% sure if that's even true now. But the way I got to talking to this person from Aero was I actually ordered a barrel from Ballistic Advantage, and I actually ordered it with a gas block and a tube, and the barrel came in, but the gas block and tube never did. So I called them, nobody answered the phone. I emailed them twice, 3 times, nobody responded. And then finally, like on the 4th or 5th time, I had this gentleman from Aero call me back, and I'm like, wait a second. So I called him, and he kind of explained the relationship. I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. And then we got to talking, and he's originally a New Yorker who now lives down in the Tampa Bay area. So I kind of talked about my time down there because I lived down there for over a decade. And he's just cool dude, man. So we kind of got talking. I told him I had a YouTube channel, and well, the rest is history, guys. But so far, those are the barrels I'm using. And I know that some people will say it's, they're not that high end or whatever, but I don't see any problems with them. I mean, to me, the craftsmanship on them is no better or worse than the Wilson Combat barrel, which was much more expensive, much more expensive. So that's just my look on things. And again, I will not tell you that I'm an AR-15 expert because I am not. I'm not even close. I'm just some guy who's kind of playing around with it and kind of getting into them and really enjoying the modularity of the platform, which is pretty cool. Let's see. So there's any other questions? I got more questions that you'd like to know. I'll be more than happy to answer them. I think, for me, looking forward at firearms, I just think there has to be something new coming out that's a little bit more exciting than what I'm seeing. The PDP, I don't know. Like, you guys know I love Honest Outlaw. He makes great content. I mean, he's got a great channel. And he just did his video on the most, what the hell was it? I forgot. His top favorite carry guns. And I think his top was the actual PDP. And I just kind of shook my head because, like, everybody knows he's an expert. I think he's an expert, whether or not he is or not is, I don't know. But I consider him just a great gun guy. And, I was like, man, I just don't know if I could agree with that. And the crazy part is, like, if you look at the PDP and you look at the PPQ, the PDP does have nice ergonomics, nice texturing on the grip, but I can't stand the slide. I can't stand it. I can't stand the thickness of the back of the grip. The slide just looks like something that it just shouldn't feel like. It shouldn't be on a pistol, I guess is the best way of saying it. I think it could have been better. I think it could have been much more rounded. It's just very blocky. And, I personally, and I know Keenan is saying he thinks it's a good firearm, but it's overrated. And I agree. I think it's a very good firearm, but extremely overrated. I mean, it's just, I don't know. I did the video where I talked about all of the marketing points about, the texturing and this and that, everything else. Like I said, the texturing is great on it. I think that's even if they would have kept the PPQ the way it was and just done the new texturing and then done a new slide where you don't lose the rear sight, I think you would have still had a winner. In the PPQ, maybe call it a PPQ M3 or something like that. But that's sort of why I looked at the Canik Rival, because I look at the Rival as or even the Mete or Metha, whatever they call it. But I would even look at that gun as kind of a more modern PPQ. The PPQ is a great gun, but it's a little slide heavy in regards to the height. The trigger's fantastic, but a little snappy. But still a great gun. Now, if I had to choose between a PPQ and a PDP, honestly, I'd be hard pressed. I mean, if I've owned, and I own 3 PPQs. So if I had to go and say, all right, let me replace all my PPQs with a PDP, I would say no. I would say, why? The PPQ is a great gun, shoots really well, very accurate, eats everything up. Why would you go and do that? You can get a new trigger for it if you want through Apex, and I'm sure there's other manufacturers. You can get sights for it, holsters for it. The ergonomics are fantastic. So like I said, to me, the PDP wasn't light years above the PPQ. I think they did some things on the PPQ that kind of refreshed Walther's, compact, long slide, everything else like the PPQ did. But I still don't think it was like a home run. I still don't think it was leaps and bounds above what the PPQ was. But again, I'm totally biased because I love the PPQ. Great gun. But again, that's my love-hate with Walther. I mean, if there was one manufacturer that I love and then hate, it's probably Walther, for a lot of reasons. The PPQ is a great gun. One of the best guns I've ever owned. PPS M2, fantastic gun. The RMSC, great gun. Trigger's a little, crappy, but I think overall, very good carry gun. But I think the problem with Walther is they don't tend to necessarily modernize things. They tend to just revamp things with a couple of new little things to it, but then go backwards on the design. And that's the one thing that always pisses me off. The CCP is a crap gun. I don't care what anybody says. I mean, I've made, I think, 3 videos on the CCP, including the newest one, the M2 Plus. And I've had people respond constantly for years on the first one and even on this one saying that I'm crazy. I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm going to tell you right now, I've never had a gun that's had so many problems with it right out of the box the way those guns have. And I can understand, some people say, oh, you only shot like 50 rounds through it. I could only shoot 50 rounds through the CCP Plus M2. That's all it would do. I had the sights flying off. So, I mean, to me, that CCP is the biggest piece of garbage that Walther ever built. I think they had a good idea on the ergos and all that other stuff, but I mean, it's just not worth it. That gun is just a piece of shit. And then, of course, now they have the PDP-F, which I don't know, man. I even something like that, even the name of the PDP-F. So the F stands for, I guess, female. So does that mean I can't own it because I'm a male? Or do I lose my man card because it's made for a female? At least that's what I'm assuming. So even with that marketing, I just think that's terrible marketing on their part. And that's the love-hate relationship I have. But in my opinion, the only 2 home runs Walther has ever hit, well, maybe 3, 2.5, has been the P99. And if you guys ever owned a P99 and you sold it like I did, like an idiot many, many years ago, try to find one. Those are great guns. Very, very underrated guns. Amazing trigger. I had the anti-stress, so I had the decocker on the slide, very similar to what Canik copied not too long ago. But that trigger was just crazy. It was just crazy good. The double action was fairly smooth, a little bit long, but the reset was short as you could even imagine. I mean, it was just a beautiful gun. And then, of course, they modernized that to PPQ. So those are my 2 home runs. The half home run, probably the PPS M2. And I call it a half because they've never really done anything to really modernize that gun. And that gun, to me, was much better than a CCP. CCP was not needed. Now does the PDP-F take over for the CCP because the CCP had the easy slide to operate and gas blowback. So I don't know. I just, it's a shame because I think Walther's kind of lost its way a little bit, but that's just a personal opinion. Let's see. Rabbi saying, I think I'm retiring all of my polymers. It's interesting. I've really shied away from a lot of polymer. I mean, I keep always looking at Berettas and always looking at SIGs, but Jesus, have you guys seen the prices on SIGs right now? I mean, you cannot find much of anything from Sig Sauer in their, like a 229, 226, whatever else is made out of metal, under like $1,000. I mean, it's insane. Those prices have skyrocketed for Sig. And I'm not sure why, but definitely the prices are crazy. I mean, a couple of years back, 229, I bought a used 229 on my favorite website. And it cost me, I think, $350. And it was a dark series. It was a dark elite. And it was used. It wasn't that great of condition, but it wasn't bad. 350 was my first P229. And now forget it. You look for one of those online, it's $800. So it's crazy how high those prices have gotten. And interestingly enough, the Beretta metal guns are coming down. Like all the 92Xs, the RDOs, that type of stuff. I just saw one compact the other night for $600. Those coming out were $800. Now they're $600. And Beretta always lowers their prices. That's why you never buy anything new from them first out. Keenan saying, guys are buying the F at the shop I work at. I have yet to see a female buy one. Right. So that's my thing. Like you marketed it towards females with weak hands, but it's guys that are buying it. And I'd like to know, Keenan, what's been their experience with it? Are they finding it to be a better gun? Maybe a better ergonomics or whatever. I'd be interested to see what the consensus is on that. Rabbi saying my SIG, CZ, and Staccato blow all of them my way in accuracy and ergonomics. Yeah, I mean, I still have my SIGs. I've got my CZs. I haven't ponied up for a Staccato, so I'm sorry. Let's see. Rabbi saying, speaking of gas blowback, I need an SCBA to mag dump my AR pistol. Good luck. Go to your local fire department, see if they can give you one. And then Rabbi saying he paid $400 for his first 226. And then he'd like a Colt Delta Elite in 10 mil. Yeah, you know what I've been looking at too, which, I know they don't necessarily have the best rap on 1911s, but man, some of those Kimbers that have been coming out, what do they call, the Repeat-A's or some shit? They have one, oh God, I think it's called the Scorpion or something like that, Scorpiox or something like that. If you guys haven't seen one, man, you should check that out. That is a beautiful gun. But I don't know. I still just am not into the 1911 platform. I know that's sacrilege, but I'm just not. Keenan saying customers love the F and has somewhat of a 1911 grip angle. He shot it and it's decent. Interesting. Now I'd like to know, is the slide as thick as the PDP, or is everything kind of streamlined down a little bit? Rabbi saying my friends wouldn't talk to me anymore if I got a Kimber. Oh, sorry. A little too bougie for you, huh? Or are you too bougie for the Kimber? Yeah, I don't know. I look at the 1911s and I'm like, oh, they're nice. It's nice eye candy, but it's not for me. Now, if I could buy something like really cool like that, I'd probably go for like a Nighthawk or something. And then Keenan saying the slide is still thick. So yeah, I mean, it's just like, I would assume, what is it? A little bit smaller in the grip, a little thinner, right? So, but still with the thick slide. And again, that's like my only thing. And I only have like really two manufacturers that I love and hate at the same time. And Walther is one. And I have to say, Steyr is the other. Don't ask about Caracol either. Oh boy, Caracol. If I could only show you how many emails back and forth I have with Caracol, even today, to this day, and it's always the same thing, always the same stupid answer. And that pisses me off, because that gun could have been something. It could have been a good gun, but they redid everything, and they're still waiting for this, waiting for that. I don't know. Maybe one day in 2022, maybe in 2023, you guys will see a Caracol back on this channel. Rabbi wants the SIG 1911 Nighthawk in 10 mil is dope. Wants it for his motorhome pistol. That's funny. So yeah, I'll take any questions you guys have. Just kind of, I have my table in front of me. It's just littered with crap all over it. With just, I mean, I've got springs, I've got roll pin punches. I've got a muzzle device here. This is a flash hider. You'll notice it's an FDE that goes with the third build. Haven't put that on yet. So. And I will not repeat what Rabbi just said, but I don't even know what that means. So no, the Caracol was good ergonomics and stuff, but man, it just didn't pan out the way I thought it would. Rabbi saying, do you have a mag capacity? Of course, because I live behind enemy lines. So, there's always mag restrictions here, no matter what. All the magazines have to be fixed in order to be able to keep all of the, evil characteristics of rifles here too. So if anybody out there is living in these states where you have to have a fixed magazine in order to keep your, muzzle devices and that kind of crap, I'd highly recommend AR Maglock. Super, super, super easy system to lock your magazines and to do magazine swaps. I won't say anymore, but it's totally legal, totally 100% legal, which is great. Cannot own suppressors in New York State. I know. Anything else that I can ruin your night with? Yeah. So anytime you have anything that you want to do with a gun in New York State, you pretty much can't do it. So, because if it looks evil, then it means it is evil, which means you can't shoot it. So, which is interesting, because as long as you get a rifle that has a fixed magazine, then everything's better. Everything's fine. It's just the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. Let's see. Nicholas is saying, is there any hope for New York, or we should all move? You know what? I've got approximately, I hate to say this, 10 years. I've got 10 years left. I don't know if I'm going to make it, but I think that's always the attitude of people. Nick. And I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but that's a lot of the comments I always get. Well, why don't you just move, or why don't you just do that? And that's a lot easier said than done. And not to mention, look at some of the other states where for years they've had good policies and good feeling towards certain things. And now you're starting to see that kind of change, because a lot of these people who've left states like this have moved into those areas, but still have the same mentality of what caused the chaos and the destruction of the state they came from. So, I mean, you can only run so far. And I think, again, to me, that's always been the attitude of a lot of the YouTube gun community, where they're, oh, just move and do this and just get out and blah, blah, blah. Well, why? Why should we move? Why should we not stand together and say no? Like, just no, we're not going to do this. As a matter of fact, we're going to take you to court, and all 50 states are going to be behind this. And we're going to say no, because we are not your servants. You are our servants, and we don't want this. But again, that's the problem. The problem is people don't care. If when it's not about them and when it doesn't happen to them, they don't care. Maki 74005, cognitive dissonance. Very true, sir. And Rabbi is saying nothing changes if you leave. That's right. And nothing will change. As a matter of fact, it'll probably follow you to the next destination if you're not careful. And I think there are people who are starting to see that. You know, I would say the only, I don't even know, I guess probably the only state where you're seeing it never changing, or I mean, and people would say Texas. I don't even think in Texas, like there's some parts of Texas that have changed. Florida has become, I think, the new land of freedom, which is crazy, because you got Ron DeSantis down there who's basically saying, no, we're not going to do this. This is stupid, and it makes no sense. Bagger bro, what's up, buddy? What's going on, dude? So we are at 9:58. So we'll be here for a few more minutes. You know, if you guys have questions, ask them. You know, I've got nothing but time. And like I said, it's been a while. I've got to, you know, I'm really sorry that it's been a long time since I've done some things. I've got to obviously change that for obvious reasons. But, you know, it's kind of been disappointing, to be honest with you. I mean, I really enjoyed doing the YouTube thing, and I enjoyed the guns and just, you know, kind of educating myself and educating others about why these are important and why I like them. And unfortunately, it's everything's so constrained with time for me right now that it's very difficult to get the time that I need. And so that's been kind of crappy. So I apologize, but I will continue to do my best. One of the things I will say is, if you're going to build an Aero Precision and you get their barrel nut, which looks like a donut and it has a bunch of circles on it, take that barrel nut and throw it in the trash can, and then just get a new rail in the front. Because on my FDE build, I got a rail from Aero Precision that I paid for, and I got the barrel nut for it, and I don't even know what it's called, but it looked, seriously, it just looks like it's like a metal circle with a hole in it for the barrel. It looks like a donut. And then it's got a bunch of circles on it, or I should say holes around it, so you can get your wrench in there and tighten that sucker up. And here's the best part. There is like no wrench on the planet that fits it. So I would say to you, if I was ever going to build another AR, which I'm currently building right now, they sent me this rail, and I'll just show it to you. But this is the rail. And I don't know if you guys can see the Cerakote job on here, what this actually is right here, but it is pretty sweet if you know anything about Ben Franklin. But this is the rail they sent, and the nut that came with this is so much better than the other rail that I bought. I will never buy that damn rail again, because, or fore end, whatever you want to call it. But that barrel nut is the most useless barrel nut on the history of this planet. I'm going to tell you right now, I got two friggin' nut wrenches for it. Neither one of them work. None of the stupid pegs line up with their holes. And then even on their website, they say you cannot use this wrench with it because it doesn't work. But then they don't tell you what the hell wrench to buy that actually works with it. So I put it together. I'm slightly off. I'm swear to God, I'm off maybe by 1/3 of an inch. And it's driving me crazy, because I need it to line up perfectly, because I want to have the gas tube and the gas block line up perfectly. And it's just off by a smidgen. So I got to pull it apart, and I'm going to try to retighten that barrel nut tomorrow. And let me tell you something, man, that is, I would never buy that barrel nut again. Never. Let's see. Rabbi say my wife is huffy for wife reasons. Need to go find out what I did wrong 7 years ago. See you later, Rabbi. Have a great night. Marriage is grand, isn't it? So yeah, so I think this is the Atlas, if I'm not mistaken, but this is a pretty cool setup. This is the one I probably should have gone with the FDE one that I built, which I haven't even shown anybody. So I'll get that on camera at some point. But I do like this fact. I like the fact you only have a rail in the front and the rear. I mean, do you really need more than that anyway? I mean, I guess if you're super tactical, maybe. But I kind of dig this, man. It's really easy to use, very simplistic, good hand placement. It's pretty cool. So the barrel nut that came with this is so much easier. So I would highly recommend going with one of these as opposed to the full rail, which is, feels like it's 85 pounds. I hate that rail. So I don't know what I'm gonna do with it. And like I said, this 300 blackout barrel, this is the Aero Precision barrel. Very nice, very, very thick. But it's a really nice looking barrel. Everything seems to be good. I mean, whatever that means. And so yeah, so I mean, everything else has been pretty good. But at this point, guys, probably going to leave the chat. It's a little bit after 10. Figured I only do about an hour. And like I said, for you guys out there who've joined me tonight, thank you so much for showing up. It's been a while. It was a good chat, I think, because we got through some things. Oh, Vborg's here. Hey, Vborg, how's it going, buddy? It's been a while, man. And now that Vborg's here, I will stay on for 5 more minutes to see if anybody has any questions. All for Vborg, because it's been a long friggin' time since I've seen that name. But yeah, like I said, I mean, I'm going to finish this 4th AR. Then I'll probably do a video on all of them. And I'm not sure how I'm going to fit them all on camera. And just kind of talk about the process and kind of the thinking that I went through when I was doing these. Because it's kind of interesting, every time you do a new AR build, there's always something that you figure out after the fact. And I think that's the thing I like about it. And then I was thinking about it today that, I strayed away from the AR platform for a while because I kind of liked another 2 initials more than AR. But I would say to you that the AR has really opened my eyes to a lot of things, because one of the things I'm realizing more and more is that it's a very modular system, especially when you go from like a 223 wild, 556, 223, and of course the 300 blackout. So it's like you got all these different things that you can combine on the same lower with a different upper, and I think that's pretty cool. And honestly, it's a lot of fun. Nicholas asks, does anyone know the status of pistol braces? Are they illegal? I'm not sure. I don't know if the ATF has completely banned them. I think they're legal, but I would ask somebody more knowledgeable than me, and that's probably everybody else. So, and by the way, this is the barrel nut that came with it. So if you're going to order a forend or a rail system from Aero Precision, look for one that has this barrel nut. This sucker is so much easier than that stupid donut. And I've got 2 wrenches that fit around this, which is even better. So that's the nut I would go with, not the other one, not the donut shaped one. And then I'm going to show you this. But I got to take it off first. Like I said, I was dry fitting everything earlier today. But so I went ahead and I wound up getting this bad boy from Magpul. I forget what this one's called. This is the UBR. So if you guys are looking for a stock, this thing is a tank, man. It's solid, and it's just a nice look. It's such a good feel when you're using it. The cheek weld, this is a little bit too far for me, and I noticed that when I was basically playing around. That's about a good standard distance for me, but this is like as solid as you're going to get. And it's got a little door there, if you want to store your crap there. This thing is badass. It really is. This is probably my favorite stock. Takes a little bit more to get on there than the others, but it's pretty nice. It's solid built. This is the best one so far. So this is my top, but this super, super expensive in my opinion for a stock. But like I said, I wanted the new rifle to be awesome, and this was a part of it. So that's that. All right, guys. So again, I appreciate everybody being here tonight, who could stick for the chat, and anybody who gave questions or whatever. Again, I always appreciate you guys watching. Videos to follow. I'm sure I'll be doing some things with the 229. I'll be doing some things with Icarus Precision coming soon. I've got the Aero build, which this one has got me so hyped because it's such a cool build. And yeah, that Taurus is coming soon. And so we'll see. I'm trying to work on some other things behind the scenes. It's been difficult. I'm not going to lie. There's still some companies who don't want to work with me. I'm not sure why. I'm such a charming personality. But as always, everybody, I hope you enjoyed the chat. I hope you get time to watch the chat if you didn't stick with us tonight. I hope you have a great night and a great weekend. And as always, everyone, stay safe, and freedom is never free.